Tonight, local vendors hold talks with members of the CCC with mixed feelings over their looming relocation.
I don't have a problem with the location right currently. I can cope because we need the adjustment at the market.
The Social Justice Minister says although there is truth to the controversial statement on teenage mothers being a major cause for crime, a new initiative is being spearheaded to hold fathers accountable. And a small playground is closed, but the MP for the area says government has the right to do so. We have the details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovely and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 Nightly News on Flow Channel 117, also being simulcast on Kiss FM 105.5 and 105.9 on our website www.caribbeanhottv.com and of course on our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Local vendors held talks with members of the Castries Constituency Council, CCC, with mixed feelings over their looming relocation. While some vendors say they are looking forward to the move, others express concerns over how their sales will be affected. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
A meeting was held on Wednesday morning between a group of provisions market vendors and the Castries City Council over the upcoming relocation of the vendors. The initiative falls in line with the long-promised market redevelopment project, which is soon to commence. The meeting was held at the site where the vendors will be relocated along Jeremy Street next to La Place Carénage. Press Communications Manager of the Office of the Mayor, Jason Hollingshead, said consultations between the CCC and the vendors have been ongoing for some time. However, all is set for the move.
The contractors, as we speak, are just tidying up some bits and pieces, but in terms of the storage, in terms of the washrooms, those facilities are prepared. Flood lamps will be placed to brighten up the place on evenings for security reasons. 24-hour security will be provided as well within that location. So we had a fairly good discussion this morning with the provisions market vendors, and we're looking to relocate them next week latest. As we speak, the checks are being prepared because each vendor will be getting some compensation, some level of compensation, so that it could assist them, whether they need to pin the trays, whether they need to purchase umbrellas. So that will be done, and then they will be placed at this new location.
Hot 7 News caught up with a few of the said vendors who shared mixed emotions on the big move.
Right now they are relocating us whereby the centers here. But I think we'll be affected for a while. But we are there temporarily, not permanently. And at the end of the day, yes, we are on Jeremy Street. But when other vendors from the countryside will be coming, I know it will be a bit congested. But we have to adjust ourselves to the situation whereby everybody can gain for the day and everybody can have a spot that they may sell their provisions.
So ça sent bon bail, yo ka tirer nous là pour ranger la place là. Ça sent bon bail. Mais aujourd'hui là yo mène nous venir pour nous ça ouais. Si mène place là si la kaya right pour nous, qui mène nous kay placer comme nous. Mais moi ha ouais là ni côté kay mettre chayou, côté ou kay là ni washroom là, côté kay ça ranger ti ko, bon, il pas trop mal.
Customers, it would be a hassle to get from that point, the bucket point to come to the old fire station. So it's a lot of adjustment. And not enough medium place saying about the change.
But
yeah.
So far, the location and from what they are offering, you find that something. Speak to me about it.
Yes, I do have a problem with the location right currently. I can cope because we need the adjustment at the market. Yeah, we need a lot all the weight they're talking about. So I can bear the patience till when we get back to the market.
Hollingshead said the questions, concerns and mixed feelings were expected. However, he said he thought in the end there was a general understanding and acceptance of what is to come. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. Social Justice Minister Leonard Montoute says although there is truth to the controversial statement on teenage mothers being a major cause for crime on island, a new initiative is being spearheaded to hold fathers accountable for their part in raising children.
Nearly 2 weeks after Prime Minister Alan Chasney reaffirmed his controversial opinion that teenage mothers play a major role in the island's crime crisis, one of his members of cabinet has come out to say that whilst he doesn't think the PM is all wrong, men need to be held to accountability as well. Social Justice Minister Leonard Spider Montoute spoke to Hot 7 News shortly after the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding with the United Nations Children Fund UNICEF on Wednesday. Montoute said the memorandum will incorporate new initiatives which will get the government to look at critical areas, including the roles of fathers in the lives of their children. He continued on to say that when fathers step up to their responsibilities, this will have a positive impact on family life and hopefully what happens in society as far as the youth are concerned. When presented with the contrast between his statement and the PM's, the MP had this to say.
There is some truth to what the Prime Minister said. But of course, we are not condemning single teenage mothers because they didn't have those babies by themselves. And that is why you notice I indicated that one of the areas I consider to be critical is to ensure that we have the fathers step up to their responsibilities and play their role.
Montoute echoed sentiments shared by National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis, who told Hot 7 News last week that legislation should be reviewed where child support is concerned.
That is the thinking of Cabinet, and Minister Francis is actually correct, and I'm in full support of that because, I mean, let's face it, $200 cannot take care of a child. And not only that, but we have to find better ways of ensuring that the fathers are able to take care of their children. Incarcerating an unemployed father is not the solution. So we are hoping that government, through some of its programs, social programs, can get those fathers employment and ensure that they contribute to the upkeep and maintenance of their children.
Prime Minister Chasney's statement has come under heavy fire from a number of women's rights advocacy groups. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
Meanwhile, a local pastor is calling men back to their rightful place in the home. He says as many debate what role young single mothers play in decaying the fabric of society, men are in many cases electively absent in the home. He says the block, the prison and the bars are claiming fathers in droves, and the church must mobilize to minister to men to get them to understand and accept their responsibility to their families.
Men are missing in action, and in St. Lucia, 65% of the children that are being born have been born to single parents. For the most part, you have the women are at home trying to do 1 or 2 jobs and to raise their children. Men are missing. You go to the prison, you go to a border, you see hundreds of men.
The minister of the gospel says single-parent households are not what God had in mind. He says the brunt of the blame for going contrary to God's plan in our present society falls on men.
So God designed the family with man, woman, and children, because the role of a wife, she's got to put things in place regarding the child, but she alone cannot do it. Must be complemented by the man. The man leads the family, and husband and wife as a team, they complement each other to raise a child in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. So even if a family is raised by a single parent, the parent does not have all that it takes. This is why God designed man and woman. Together, they can raise the child in a balanced way. And so, with the absence of men out of the family, men not in the house, men in prison, men on the block, men just doing their own thing, and men that have 3 and 4 and 5 different women, and when they get paid, their money have to split up 4 and 5 different ways. And that model is wrong, it's contrary, and it is affecting the family.
Now, Apostle David Tommy says the Praise and Worship Tabernacle is playing its part to minister to men and will continue to do so during a special crusade in Cantonment, Vieux Fort.
and we have these men of God. They are all prophetic. Dr. Nigel Gaynor have a tremendous testimony, been to prison, God touched his life, turned his life around for the better. We have Bishop Anthony Gibbs from the USA, tremendous speaker, traveled the world, and they're here to really touch life.
That was Apostle David Tommy of the Praise and Worship Tabernacle. In other news, island hopping for shopping is the new wave washing over the Caribbean. A recent contingent of Dominican nationals came to St. Lucia's shores for the purpose of a shopping spree. It has stimulated conversation about the initiative and whether it will become a mainstay for economic growth on the island. Solange Alfred tells us more.
Spurring new growth in the economy has taken the route of regional shopping sprees to St. Lucia. A recently facilitated trip by the Castries City Council of over 400 Dominicans to St. Lucia for purposes of shopping has received the backing from current interim president of the Association of Boat Captain and Crew Members, Aaron Alexander. He says interregional travel will not only advance the economy of island states, but also advances free movement of people within the Caribbean. However, he notes there are still opportunities for continued growth and development for travel within the 7 Windward Islands.
I think, it's good for Caribbean integration. I think it's good for free movement of people through the UECS, etc. I mean, the Caribbean marketplace, you have millions of people within that region. So there's enough volume and enough persons to be moved around. So it's good to have vessels who are able to do this. The South Caribbean islands seem to be suffering a bit because the movement down there, a lot of the ferry boats don't really venture down to St. Vincent, Grenada, etc. So maybe that's an area we need vessels to service those areas. But it's always a good thing to have free movement of people within the region. I am a supporter of this and I'm playing my part however I can in whatever little way that I can to ensure that we have this kind of movement within the Caribbean.
Meanwhile, Alexander says major concerns about the initiative lie with the ferry service providers. He observes the unfair treatment and starvation wages sometimes given to employees of such vessels and says it's a matter of great unease, which has been used as a catalyst for the establishment of a governing body for both captains and crew members.
My only concern is the fact that some of those vessels don't pay their staff properly. Those vessels that travel cross borders and cross channels, they don't compensate their staff adequately. That is why I'm one of the persons in the forefront of setting up what is known as the Association of Boat Captains and Crew Members to ensure that these persons get their rightful dues. And as a matter of fact, we're having a meeting this coming Monday to finalize our bylaws to ensure that such an association is up and running. It's needed within the boating sector in St. Lucia, both for day boat charters, taking people to Soufre, etc. All those catamarans out there that's involved in that trade, they seem to be shortchanging the captain and crew very much, and the working conditions are not the best. So this association will seek to address those things.
With the first trip accommodating the Dominican contingent to St. Lucia being hailed as a success, the Chief Executive Officer of the Castries Constituency Council, Wilfred Pierre, has been quoted as saying, "We are hoping that it will be a continuous process." The regional shopping project is said to have come about from dialogue between Dominican and the St. Lucian officials. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Thank you, Solange. This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. Still to come, the Grosley MP responds to complaints about the closure of a small playing ground along the Pigeon Point Beach. Despite reports of a hopeful cash injection by Virgin boss Richard Branson, it seems the Liat is still high and dry, and the World Health Organization has launched its first ever guidelines on how people can help avoid getting dementia. These stories and more when we return.